Do you remember everything that happened at Universal Orlando Resort last year? Well, join Darren, Chris, and Tracy as we tackle the big fat Universal Quiz of the Year. You are listening to episode 387 of the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Big Fat Quiz of the Year. I am your host, Lee, and joining me are my three contestants. Chris, where are you from?
From the beautiful, lovely South Florida.
Joining us, contestant number 2, Darren, where are you coming to us from?
From beautiful Central Florida, which is above South Florida.
And our final contestant, Miss Tracy, where are you joining us from?
I'm joining from the sofa in Darlington.
Welcome everyone to the Big Fat Universal Quiz of the Year. I am your host, Lee. This is how the quiz is going to go. It is separated into 4 major sections. Each section contains 3 months of the year. Moving back to 2019, we will begin the quiz. Is everybody ready?
Yeah.
I think so.
We will begin with January. So, on January 10th, Universal Orlando announced the concert lineup for that year's Mardi Gras celebrations. Can you name me 2 of that year's performers?
No.
Coming up blank.
Don't give them enough time to Google.
I'm trying not to cheat here, okay?
You better not.
I just listed 15 of them. I'm not cheating.
Chris has 18 monitors. It's like Minority Report there.
You must give me 2 answers to get the full point.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And moving on, question number 2. The first podcast of 2019 included Chris's live report from Universal Orlando about the holidays, but the main event was another Ride That Made Me segment. Can you tell me who my guest was?
We are terrible hosts. It's not that person.
Crap, I have no idea, so I'm just putting this in. You haven't even done one with this for this entertaining for the show.
I hope everyone's playing along at home. Moving on to the next question. We also had 2 other guests on at the first month of 2019. One to discuss 2019 and beyond, and one to talk about rumors. Can you name them both?
This isn't good when you've got Alzheimer's.
All answers are in, and moving on to the next question, we enter the month of February. February brought us the first official announcement that Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure would be replacing Dragon Challenge in Hogsmeade. Can you tell me the exact date we got that announcement?
I'm in. You said February?
That was my answer.
Good. Well,
Remember, Leah, we write our dates different.
Got a 1/28 chance.
no, it wouldn't be that date. Try this date.
You've got a calendar open.
No,
can
I was
smell
going to
it.
put Valentine's Day, but I'm like, it's not going to be Valentine's Day. They announced it.
Might be. Nil point.
Moving on February 26th, we received an official announcement of a new place to eat at Universal Orlando Resort. Can you tell me the name of this new eatery? On February 26th, we received an official announcement of a new place to eat at Universal Orlando Resort.
Wait, who's that talking? Where's the host?
His balls dropped.
Lee popped in. He's helping Tracy, I think.
Yeah.
Never. He would never do that.
Interesting. Continuing the announcements, we got the announcement of a new projection show coming to Hogsmeade in the fall. Can you tell me the full name of the Death Eater-focused show that debuted later in the year? Full title, please.
Listen to us all type.
Chris?
I know.
I need an answer.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Moving on, we reach March. On the first podcast of March 2019, we welcomed a Mardi Gras show director onto the podcast. Can you name him?
I don't remember what I did this morning.
Back in March, Universal gave us more details of Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. They told us that the new attraction would receive over how many trees as part of its Forbidden Forest theming. To clarify, in their press release, they said there will be over a very specific number of trees.
Boy.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you say trees or bees?
Sorry, sir, that is trees.
I heard they did install some bees.
The penultimate question for this section takes us into Mardi Gras. So Chris went to 2019's Mardi Gras celebrations and tested out a lot of the experiences as well as the food. But can you tell me the only true vegetarian offering that was available at the event that was not a dessert?
Oh.
I know this one.
Favoritism.
It was actually mentioned on the podcast very recently.
Don't listen to Chris.
Don't listen to anybody. Not even myself. Oh, hang on.
Sugar. I have no idea.
And the final question for this section. March also saw us receive our first Halloween Horror Nights 29 house announcement. But can you tell me which was the first house announced for Halloween Horror Nights 29?
Was this? God, now I'm questioning myself. I don't know.
DMD. If you listen to D&D, you would know this, Darren.
I don't think it was around this year.
Okay, let's go back through the questions and get some answers for this first section.
It's not.
The first question was, on January 10th, Universal Orlando announced the concert lineup for that year's Mardi Gras celebrations. Can you name me two of that year's performers? Going back through those answers, Chris and Darren both got one. Tracy got one. And you all just got one. Because All American Rejects did not perform last year.
Oh.
Did we all put that?
You all put Gavin DeGraw.
Of course.
And Chris and Darren both put All American Rejects. You could have had Bush, Gavin DeGraw, Dan and Shay, Macklemore, Sabrina Carpenter, Becky G, Sean Paul, Steve Miller Band, Ziggy Marley, NF, Pitbull, Bozzy, and the staple Prince Royce.
Didn't you go to a concert, Chris?
Yeah, I saw Dan and Shay, but I confused it with Gavin DeGraw because I met Gavin DeGraw after.
Oh, man.
So I literally confused myself. And then I jokingly put another artist as my second answer, and it's actually an answer for this one. So I'm shooting myself right now.
So the next question was, the first podcast of 2019 included Chris report live from Universal Orlando about the holidays, but the main event was another Rides That Made Me segment. Can you tell me that guest? You all put the same thing. Tracy, do you want to tell me what you all put?
Mike Aiello.
The answer was not Mike Aiello. The answer was Julie Zimmerman. The next question for January, we also had two other guests on in the first month of 2019, one to discuss 2019 and beyond, and one to talk rumors. Darren, tell me, who were those people?
Seth Kabursky and Alicia Stella.
And you all got 1 point each.
Nice. Ding, 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 ding.
Moving into February, I asked you what date did we get our first official announcement of Hagrid's Magical Creatures motorbike adventure? Nobody got it right. Tracy was actually the closest, saying the 19th. It was actually the 21st of February.
Oh.
So, on February 26th, we received an official announcement of a new place to eat at Universal Orlando Resort. And only one person got it correct. That person was... Darren was the only one that got it right. Darren, will you tell these people what the actual answer was?
Ha-ha! The Today's Show Cafe.
It was
Awesome.
the Today
I looked
Cafe.
like a fool.
Not the only one. I put Big Fire as well.
The next question, I asked you to give me the full name of the Death Eater-focused projection show that debuted later in the year. Nobody got anywhere near. But we have some interesting answers. Tracy, can you tell me what you put?
The Spectacular Death Eaters Masquerade Mapping Ball thing.
Christopher.
The Death the Death Eater's magical show.
And finally, Darren.
Well, I think I'm probably correct, but it's the Dark Arts Happy Fun Time Projection Show.
Unfortunately, the actual answer was the Dark Arts at Hogwarts Castle.
Oh, that's boring.
Well, that's what it
close.
was.
I like mine better.
Yeah, they could use mine as well in the future.
The next one you all got correct. The Mardi Gras show director that we had on the podcast was, of course, Blake Braswell. Or as Darren's put, Blake Brass Balls Braswell. The next question I asked, over how many trees would be part of Hagrid's Magical Creatures motorbike adventure? The answer was not one.
But it is correct.
And not 1,000. It was 1,200.
1,200. Damn.
I was right.
The next question I asked was, what was the only one true vegetarian offering available at Mardi Gras last year that was not a dessert item? Chris, would you like to put everyone out of their misery?
Yes, it is a staple of Universal. The Twisted Taters.
Oh,
Yeah, I just bloody thought about it. 'Cause I was just about to be facetious and say potato, but oh crap.
And finally, the house that was announced during March for Halloween Horror Nights was, altogether now,
Stranger Things.
and that'll be it. So, moving on to the next section of the quiz, we enter the month of April. In April, we got the announcement that Big Fire American Fair would be replacing Emeralds in Universal Orlando City Walk. But can you name me the 3 woods used to smoke their food? I need all 3 for a point.
Give me a sec. I'm not sure right.
Moving on, to celebrate our 8-year anniversary, we invited Dave Cobb onto the show to discuss the creation of Men in Black Alien Attack. But can you tell me which Orlando landmark was going to be the original theme for the facade and queue? This is the funniest thing being on the other end. Because if people don't know the answer, just put stupid down and it's funny. I like it.
Yeah.
You can't phone a friend. It's not Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Oh, okay.
Street shout out.
No one? Okay. Moving on, April saw Halloween Horror Night 29's first original house announcement. But can you tell me which house it was?
Can't remember the houses.
Tracy, I am waiting for an answer.
Typing, shut up.
It's no way to speak to your horse, but whatever.
Know your place.
Oh, I know my place. Interesting. Moving on, we were also given details of some of the creatures we will see in Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. but one was not released before the ride opened. Can you tell me the creature that you will see on the ride that was not announced ahead of time? We now move on and enter May. Universal continued to give us information on Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure, and in May they gave us our first look at the Hagrid animatronic that would be part of the attraction. But how tall does that animatronic stand? In feet and inches, and I need the exact height, please. Jesus.
I guess I'm not right then. I thought maybe it was a perspective thing. I don't know.
Moving on, Universal Studios Florida's latest eatery opened in May, the Today Cafe, and has become a favorite of a lot of people, including all of us at this point. But can you tell me the actual date it opened?
Ugh.
Yes.
On to the next question. Some endless summer Surfside Inn and Suites food news was what we got next, but can you name the main restaurant at Universal Orlando's newest hotel?
I just don't remember the specific name. There's a lot of names.
Yeah. I still have no chance.
I can tell the food was good.
Tracy, I require an answer. Moving on to more Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure officially opened on June 13th, but can you name all of the Harry Potter talent that was present in person to celebrate the opening of the newest Wizarding World attraction? I will give you a hint. There were 6.
I know, and the one thing I didn't actually memorize.
Please, I want their actual actor names, not the character names.
Oh my god, I don't know her freaking name. And I know their names.
Daniel,
I am terrible with names.
I still don't know their names.
I don't know what's right.
As this is a tough question, if anyone can give me answers, I will give you a point each. Moving on. June also saw another Halloween Horror Nights house announcement. Yeti, Terror of the Yukon. But in which previous Halloween Horror Nights house, present at 28, did we see an appearance of a Yeti?
What's the name? I know that one.
Mm-hmm.
Am I off by a word? I know I am. It doesn't sound right to me.
Tracy, I require an answer. Moving on, we had 2 openings in June. Big Fire American Fair and the Endless Summer Resort Surfside Inn and Suites. They opened a day apart. Can you tell me which opened first? And for a bonus point, on what date?
Welcome to my answers, where the dates are made up and the answers are wrong.
Let's see.
You're not allowed to look at a calendar.
No, I'm not looking at a calendar. I'm just waiting for the number.
Right, that will wrap up the second section of questions. Let's go back through and tally up the points and give you the answers. So, the first question I asked you was, what are the 3 woods used to smoke the food at Big Fire Grill? And you all got 2. The answers were cherry, oak, and pecan.
Oof.
I never had cherry and oak right.
Did somebody else put maple?
Yep.
All right.
And then I was like, oh, is it cedar?
I only got 1 right.
Next question I asked was about Men in Black Alien Attack. And could you tell me which Orlando landmark was going to be the original theme for the facade and queue? It was not the I-4, as Tracy put. It was also not Phone a Friend, that Chris put. And also, was it not... No, I can't. The answer was the Orlando International Airport.
I was going to say that just for the heck of it. I was like, what else could it be? But I didn't.
Next question was the first original Halloween Horror Nights 29 house announcement. You all put the same thing and then heard a subsequent question that told you that answer was not right. Anyone want to take a stab in the dark of what the answer actually was?
It wasn't Yeti then.
No, it wasn't Yeti.
Was it the underwater one?
That's what I'm trying to remember what it was called.
No, it was Nightingale's Blood Pit.
Wow.
The creature that can be seen on Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure that was not announced ahead of time was correct from all 3 of you, and the answer was...
Yarnakarn.
And
a
her
teenage
baby
child.
Yes, I put a teenage child.
Moving into
Scary.
May, I asked you how tall does the Hagrid animatronic in Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure stand?
10'6".
Tracy, you put?
8'6".
And Chris, you put?
9'10".
The actual answer was 7 feet and 6 inches.
Damn.
He seems a lot taller.
That was a foot out.
I next asked the actual opening date of the Today Cafe, and one person, luckily, got it right.
What?
That person was Darren.
Are you kidding?
And the date was...
May 16th.
Now who's looking up at calendars?
Yeah. No,
Actually, I put May 15th as a guess.
Yeah, he
And-
did.
Wow.
Next up, I asked you what the restaurant inside Universal's newest hotel, the Endless Summer Surfside Inn and Suites. Chris, who has been there, doesn't know the answer.
Well, it could be right.
No, it's not.
Something grab and go.
Tracy is nodding her head. The answer is...
Well, of course, it's the bus sandwich stop.
Yeah, it is not. The answer is the Beach Break Cafe.
Oh, well, that's what you have to do.
Moving into June, I asked you the talent that was present in person during the opening of the newest Wizarding World attraction, Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure, and it was Tom Felton, Ivana Lynch, Warwick Davis, Oliver and James Phelps, and Rupert Grint.
I couldn't remember the Phelps twins' names, that's for sure.
I got 4.
The next question I asked was the next Halloween Horror Nights announcement of Yeti, Terror of the Yukon, and in what house was a Yeti present at Halloween Horror Nights 28? The answer was... Darren.
Slaughter Cinema.
Wow. My brain got on that one.
You can't say that.
I was so close.
Yes.
Just bleep
Tracy, what was your answer? I'm going to bleep this in a minute.
Barney's big, scary, big house.
That unfortunately was not the answer. The next one was, which of Endless Summer and Big Fire opened first, and for an extra point, on which date did it open? The date was the 26th of June, and the answer was, all together now,
Big fire.
Big
Fire.
Big fire.
Yay.
Big Fire. That brings us to the midpoint of our quiz. And while we take a breather, please go and listen to these words from our sponsors.
Mouse and Muggle Travel Company, our services are completely free to you. We don't just do Universal, we can do Disney, we can actually do anything. I don't know if anybody knows that. We can do anything. We can book absolutely anything, and it's super easy. We have a website, just go to mouseandmuggle.com, and we have a link there for a free quote request. You just fill it out, that email comes straight to me, and either Robin or I will handle it, or if we're a little bombarded, then we'll send you off to one of our expert agents. But we'll take good care of you. So reach out to us at any time.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Big Fat Universal Quiz of the Year. And moving on, we move into July. In July, we got the announcement that the previous year's Killer Clowns Scare Zone was being made into a house for Halloween Horror Nights 29. But this was not the first time an IP Scare Zone went from a Scare Zone to a house. Can you tell me the IP that had this treatment recently?
Oh. Duh.
It was...
I got that wrong then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of Halloween Horror Nights, July also saw the reveal of the eagerly anticipated Ghostbusters house coming to Halloween Horror Nights 29, but this house contains something that has never been in a Halloween Horror Nights house before. Can you tell me what that was?
Listen sharing me.
Oh, I know what it is now.
Tracy, I require an
I am
answer.
typing.
You're going to get kicked off this for showing.
Good. Kick me off.
Following that, we were joined on the podcast by Joni, Maddie, Michelle, and Todd to talk about their epic undertaking of riding Hagrid's Magical Creatures motorbike adventure on opening day. But can you tell me exactly how long they waited?
Oh.
To the nearest hour.
Oh, I had a feeling that this was going to come up here. Don't remember, though. I don't know. I have a feeling it was something crazy.
Tracy, I require an answer.
Gone for the second.
Moving on, Hagrid's Magical Creatures motorbike adventure opened with many issues and is still kind of struggling to run at 100%, but can you tell me the ride manufacturer? Okey-dokey. We now move into August. Jordan Peele's Us was announced for Halloween Horror Nights 29, but can you tell me the house that it replaced from the speculation map? Mr. Downer, I require an answer. Moving on, but continuing with Halloween Horror Nights, Graveyard Games was also announced in August, but can you tell me the name of the cemetery in which this house was set?
I didn't go on the behind the screens tour. It's not there.
No, that would have been so handy. So, I've got photos, hang on. I've got time to go. I haven't actually. Lee's got them. Damn it. Can't even cheat.
Chris, I require an answer. I'm sorry, is not an answer.
That was the Dead Rising.
Moving on, but also continuing with Halloween Horror Nights, the scare zones were all announced this month too, but what is the name of the torture being performed in Vikings Undead, which involves carving someone's back open to make wings?
Oh, this one's for Tracy.
Yes, that's an easy question, Tracy. There.
I will do a step-by-step tutorial on YouTube later if I don't win this quiz. And now people are hoping I don't win this quiz.
Continuing on in August. Keeping up with the Horror Nights theme, the Awesome Lagoon Show was announced for the event, but can you give me its full title?
Can't even give you a part one at the moment. My brain's frozen.
I don't think that's the full title, but that's all I remember.
It's crazy how the mind works.
Oh, it doesn't.
Doesn't.
Hey! But strangely, it does like that. We're all in sync, apart from these questions.
We're all dumb together.
And moving on, we move into September. The Dark Arts at Hogwarts Castle projection show began in September, but do you know what date it started?
I don't know. It worked last time.
Gotta
That's
be.
right.
So I'm gonna make a trick myself, and it's not even a date.
Moving on, and keeping again with Halloween Horror Nights, Academy of Villains returned to Halloween Horror Nights 29 with a new show performed on the Fear Factor stage. But what was the full name of that show?
I don't know, because we just referred to it as one thing. Never went round going, should we go watch? Blah, 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 blah.
AOV.
Tracy, I require an answer.
Can't think.
Moving on the podcast this month, I was joined by 4 members of the Producers Club to discuss the future of 3D attractions at the parks. This episode was sparked by the removal of 3D from which attraction at Universal Studios Florida in 2019?
Oh gosh, I thought you were going to say name those producers.
It keeps confusing when he keeps saying last year.
Yeah,
Because I keep thinking 2018. I won't be used to 2020 until December.
Okay, let's wrap up those answers and give out some points. So, moving into July, I asked you, what was the most recent scare zone that went from a scare zone to a house? That was an IP, and the answer was Trick or Treat.
Damn, I didn't even think of that.
No, me either.
Mine was also correct.
Speaking of Halloween Horror Nights, could you tell me the thing that was used in the Ghostbusters house that had never been used before? Tracy was actually the closest, but still incorrect. The answer was a scare actor being allowed to use their own voice.
Oh, yeah, I thought of that now.
That's ever? I thought in the old days they did.
The answer was Janine, and that was told to us by our RP guide. So if it's rubbish, go tell him. I asked you, Joni, Maddie, Michelle, and Todd, how long did they wait on opening day to ride Hagrid's Magical Creatures motorbike adventure? Tracy, you were way off. What was your answer?
16 hours, 13 minutes, and 6 seconds.
I did ask for rounded up to the nearest hour.
Well, you can ask me. You don't always
Star
get it.
Wars.
One person was correct. That person was Christopher. Chris, the answer was?
16 hours. No, I'm kidding. 8 hours.
The next one was, what is Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventures ride manufacturer? One person got it correct. That was Darren. And the ride manufacturer was Darren?
Intimate.
Moving into August, the house that Jordan Peele's Us replaced on the speculation map was not them, as Tracy and Chris both got.
Awesome.
Anybody? Anybody want to take a stab in the dark, even though you didn't get it right first time?
It was. I thought it was like a traditional Halloween thing.
It was a tooth fairy house.
Oh,
yes.
son of a yeah.
I then asked, what was the name of the cemetery in which Graveyard Games was set? It was in Louisiana. The answer was Ascension Parish Cemetery. The next one I asked was, what is the name of the torture being performed in Vikings Undead? And that answer would be Miss Tracy.
The Blood Eagle.
Ooh, that's right. She spoke highly about that during Horror Nights.
Yes.
I next asked for the full name of the Halloween Horror Nights Lagoon Show. Shame on you for nobody getting it correct, but I will ask you to read your answers. Christopher.
Halloween Horror Nights Lagoon Show.
Darren.
Marathon of Mayhem.
Close, but no
That's right.
cigar. That's why I asked for the full title of the show. Tracy.
Mayhem was in there. Monsters and Mayhem, Watery Sploosh.
The actual answer was Halloween Marathon of Mayhem.
Oh god damn.
Next, I asked for the date of the beginning of the Dark Arts at Hogwarts Castle projection show. The answer was, that nobody got correct, September 5th.
Oh, I knew it was early.
Has anybody got a calendar? Because I need to know. Because I put Friday the 13th.
I did
I
the
just thought it would be. Was there a Friday the 13th in September? I just thought, would it be
Yes, there
appropriate?
was. It actually
Oh, yeah.
started on a Thursday, which is weird. Next up, I asked for the full name of the Academy of Villains show that came to Halloween Horror Nights. Chris, let everyone know the answer.
Altered States. Or Academy of Villains Altered States.
Yeah, I've got Academy of Villains and I just couldn't get the rest.
Next up, basically, I asked you which ride at Universal Studios Florida had the 3D removed from it in 2019, and that answer was...
Despicable Me.
Minions?
Despicable Me. Moving into the last section of the quiz, it is all tight. There is only 3 points separating third and first. So, moving into October, we got the official announcement for the stunt show that will replace Terminator 2 3D. Can you tell me the full name of the show due to open this year?
Ugh. Just when I wrote it at the time, I felt so dumb.
Moving on, October contained the very first UUOP The Weekender meetup at Universal Orlando Resort. The scavenger hunt was organized by Seth Kabursky from the Unofficial Guides. Can you tell me the name of the scavenger hunt?
I thought you were going to say, can you give us the name of Seth Kabursky's cat? Or something like that, you know?
That's the bonus point.
Moving into November, Halloween Horror Nights 29 wrapped up, and we asked our listeners to send us in their top 10 house lists. Can you tell me the number 1 house and the number 10 house on that list? I need both houses for a point.
I think. Alright, we'll see.
Let's do this.
This quiz makes me feel so inadequate.
I don't know.
Moving on, Voodoo Donut announced the cannolo item as part of their menu. But can you tell me 2 of the cream cheese filling flavors available on the day of release?
None, as far as I know. Ha 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 ha.
That is incorrect. I only asked for 2. Why have you given me 3?
Bonus points. And I've given you a suggestion of a future flavour. The point is...
I'll tell you what my point is when we finish this thing up. The holidays began at Universal Orlando Resort in November, but can you tell me the full name of the holiday parade that takes place daily inside Universal Studios Florida? Chris, I require an answer.
Yeah, I have nothing. Well, that's what I have.
Moving into the last section of the show, into December. December saw us wrap up this year's debate, which was, which voodoo do you do? Can you tell me the listener voted for Voodoo Donut?
Man, that was like a year ago we talked about that.
Oh. I don't think that's right. Damn it. I don't listen to this show.
I don't even know what this show is.
Moving on, Green Eggs and Ham at Universal's Islands of Adventure reopened serving tater tots. Can you name all 5 menu items available for a point each? This does not include the annual pass holder one.
What? There's 5? I'm sorry. How?
I'm stuck at 4. Oh, I know the other one. Well, I don't know the pass holder one. I didn't know there was one.
The last question to wrap up our Big Fat Universal Quiz of the Year. Throughout December, guests were invited to take part in the Holiday Tree Hunt, a scavenger hunt to find all of the themed Christmas trees throughout Islands of Adventure, Universal Studios Florida, and City Walk. But how many trees were there to be discovered?
I was like, oh, this is going to be easy. I did this. Chris, you better not have your map sitting around.
No.
Got it pinned to his wall.
Oh. Perfect.
It's on his bulletin board.
There must be some on the other side then.
The leaflet was flipped.
And that will conclude our Big Fat Universal Quiz of the Year. So let's go through our last section. I first asked you, what is the full name of the replacement for Terminator 2 3D? And 2 people got it correct, and 1 people did not. 1 people. Chris, you were very, very close, but it's not the Bourne Stunt Spectacular. It is an amalgamation of those last 2 words. Darren, tell me the name of the attraction.
The Bourne Stunt-tacular. It sounded so dumb when I wrote it out.
Yep.
Moving on, I asked you the name of our scavenger hunt at UUOP The Weekender. Tracy was the one that come up with that name, so I'm assuming you got it correct. The answer was?
The Seekender.
It was the Seekender, which you all got correct. Moving into November, I asked you what were the number 1 and number 10 houses on our listener top 10 Halloween Horror Nights house lists. I was quite disappointed.
Overall.
The number 1 house was Universal Monsters.
Oh.
The number 10 house was... Christopher, you got it right.
Oh.
The answer was...
Us?
It was. But you don't get a point.
Damn.
I then asked you to name me 2 of the cream cheese filling flavors available on day of release in the new Canolo from Voodoo Donut. The answers were pumpkin, which Chris got.
Yep.
Almond, which nobody got.
Oh, yeah.
And raspberry, which Darren
damn.
and Tracy both got.
Strawberry is raspberry's cousin, you know.
No.
I then asked for the full name of the holiday parade that takes place daily inside Universal Studios Florida as part of the holidays. 1 person got it correct. That was Darren.
Oh, the Universal Holiday Parade featuring Macy's.
I thought you were asking about that parade they do with the characters.
He said the holiday parade they do daily.
He said the holiday parade was like running, and then what parade happens every day? So I thought it meant like
holiday parade runs daily, he said.
Okay, so maybe I just ignored the lead on that. Probably it.
Moving into December, I asked you, what was the listener voted for? Which voodoo do you do? 1 person got it correct. That 1 person is Tracy.
Oh.
And the answer was?
The orange creamsicle.
I then asked you for all 5 menu items available at Green Eggs and Ham. Tracy, give me 2.
Who hash? Green eggs and ham tots.
Chris, give me 2.
Buffalo chicken tots and pizza tots.
Darren, give me the one you didn't get.
Well, did it? Give me the one that I don't know. I don't know.
It's s'mores Nutella.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Is that a point for each?
So Nutella tots is not going to count. That's the one you were talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because there was no tots.
And the last question was, I asked you how many trees could be found as part of Universal's holiday tree hunt at Islands of Adventure, Universal Studios Florida, and City Walk. And the answer was, Darren?
15?
15.
All right.
And that will bring us to the end of UUOP's Big Fat Universal Quiz of the Year. And let's give out the points. In 3rd place with 15 points is Chris. In 2nd place with 16 points was Tracy. And coming in at 1st place with 19 points is Darren. Woo! Woo!
Wow.
Tell them what they win.
Now,
Now, how many listeners beat me? I'm guessing several.
Naomi, I do apologise. Naomi was the one that tested this out for me. She did horrendously. I do apologise.
That should have been the point when you then went, maybe this is too hard.
No, it's never too hard. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that. I hope you all played along. If you got more than Darren, let us know. Darren's volunteered to do the big fact quiz of the year next year, which would be cool because I want to get involved.
Yes.
And that's going to wrap up episode 387 of the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. And as we always do, we will wrap up with another Universal Is, and this one is from Kieran Elliott, the infamous Kieran Elliott. And of course, if you want to be part of the end of the show, all you've got to do is submit to us what you think Universal is in 3 words or less to podcast@uuopodcast.com, and we will read it out on the show like we will with Kieran's. And Kieran says Universal is sweaty fun times. See you next week.
Cut, print, that's a wrap for another episode of the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. Never miss a show by subscribing on Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review while you're there. Not an Apple user? You can listen on Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, or your podcatcher of choice. Email us any questions or comments to podcast@uuopodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, YouTube, Instagram, and Pinterest. Just search UUO Podcast. Keep up with the latest news, rumors, and updates on our blog at uuopodcast.com. Thanks for listening. See you next week.